Today we'll see the file management, one of the important topic from this IO management. I am Dr. Mahesh Sangvi, working as Vice Principal Professor, Head of Department of Computer Engineering, Engineering, Chhattisgarh. I hope you will like the video and subscribe my YouTube channel. When we are talking about file management, you can see that these are the files in traditional way we are observing it. And here it is what the management. Why we are managing file? Because the task is very simple. Searching should be easy. And we should get what the option of searching easily. So file management is important. We will see certain topics under this file management. We'll start with the concept of file, then access method. What are the access methods by which we can able to access the files? Then we'll see with directory structures. What is the directory structure that you might have heard, the FAT or NTFS, or you might have heard the extension 3, normally a very famous file structure in case of your Linux is concerned. Then protection of file, then file system implementation. Then we'll focus on direction. Then allocation method, means what access we are observing. Based on that, there will be some allocation method by which we can able to allocate the data to files or files on directory or disk. Then we'll focus on free space management. Let's start with the concept of file. You all are aware that file management is one of the most visible component of an operating system, where we all can see the files, we all can say we can work with files, and media that is in the form of file. A file is collection of related information defined by its creator. This is what the definition of file, where it is ultimately collection of related information, and it is always defined by some author or a creator. Then regarding file, it is we can information that is recorded on secondary storage. Always remember, file is always stored on secondary storage. We cannot say that file is stored on what RAM, because the things which are on RAM may get what vanished, it contents may get vanished. But when we are talking about file, it is always saying that this is permanent storage. That's the beauty of file. So file represents program, both source and object forms, and that's the reason it is also storing what data. So we all are aware that we can store file in textual or binary form, or there are various different forms of what file. So data of file can be numeric, alphabetic, alphanumeric, or binary. So it can be combination of alphanumeric or it can be a binary. That's the beauty of data. Then we'll see the role of operating system in case of file management. Operating system is actually responsible for what this entire file management. What are the activities it is doing when we are talking about file management? So these are the tasks of operating system that is normally done for this file management. So creating and deleting file. So how to create file, how to delete file, that's the part. So you can see the appropriate symbols. Then creating and deleting the directories, so we can either add or delete directories. Then operating system is also responsible for mapping files onto secondary storage. This is important. In case of Unix or Linux operating system, you need to observe that you need to map the drive before its use. I don't know, nowadays there is no need of mapping, because mapping is auto operation in a Linux operating system. But in earlier days, when you are plugging any sort of pen drive, you need to first map it and then you can able to use it. So that's the beauty of what mapping. Now this is auto function of operating system. It also supports various primitives for manipulating files and directories. Manipulating files and directories means what? We can able to add information, delete information, as well as what edit information of file as well as directory. So all that primitives means all that utilities are provided by operating system. So when we are going on Windows Explorer, you can observe that you can open the file, you can delete the file, you can edit the file, all kinds of operations can be performed, and that Windows Explorer is one of the primitive given by operating system. Then we can also have one of the important area, that is what taking backup of a particular file. So normally we are taking backup on Google Drives right now, okay, but we normally take what backup on the secondary storage like pen drive or maybe on other hard disk that we are having. That is mainly for the backup purpose. Then we have to think about certain file attributes. There are certain attributes that file must have, and that are ultimately what name. Every file should have its name, and that name has what, again, it should be, human readable. So it should be a very symbolic, very specific name, because by which we can able to search the name of file. Then every file is having its file identifier, that is file ID, and that is ultimately unique tag. This you will get, this particular part you will get in case of, in case of your identifier, like when we are going on with what, when we are dealing with file on Linux operating system, then probably you can able to see what is the importance of what ID, and we can able to see this particular ID. Always remember, ID is used by operating system to maintain uniqueness of the file. Then the type of file, this information is needed for the system that supports different types of what file. Okay, so as there is high priority interrupt of Ghanta Gadi, so I'm stopping my lecture and giving you scope for attendance. Just a minute, this particular thing will be in front of you, then you can mark your attendance. Mark your attendance. You can simply scan this and mark your. I have even given you the link of form on chat window. You can mark your attendance now. I hope you all have marked the attendance. Yeah, so I was talking about the file attributes. So we have some attributes like name, identifier, then the type of file. Then there are some more attributes like location, where exactly that file is stored. Then we must know the size of that particular file, because we all are aware that size is always about what the collection of file that is actually storing and taking what space into our secondary devices. Then the protection is very important part. We can give some access control, where we can give access control of, there are basically three access control: reading, writing, and executing. If you simply right click on certain file and if you simply make it read only, then other people cannot able to write anything into that, and that particular file will be only used for reading purpose. So dear friends, we can protect writing just by enabling that particular logic. Even there are certain files which are executable. If you want to give executable rights, all these system, we all are aware about actually used for giving these kinds of rights. Then the fourth part is time, date, and what user identification. the way there is file identifier, there is user identifier that shows who is the author or who have actually created this particular file. And there will be what time and date of creation, time and date of modification, time and date of last modification, time and date of what last use. Entire data is actually stored into file. So you must be aware, when we are talking about date and time, it is of creation, it is of last modification, it is of last. So it stores entire information that we need to understand. So that is about time, date, and user ID. Next are the file operations. Now we all are aware that there are various file operations, like we can able to create a file, we can able to write into file, we can able to read a file, we can able to delete a file, we can even able to what repositioning within a file, and we can able to truncating a file. For where you were actually what creating that file read mode, then you can able to delete that particular file. Okay, deleting file is always logical, truncating is always what permanent deletion. Okay, so we all are aware, when we are deleting, taking care of this thing. Will be truncating, file will removed permanently. Repositioning within a file means what? You can vary a file pointer, you can rewind it, you can take it ahead. That's the beauty of repositioning within a file. Next is file types. Now there are basically two common types of file that you can see here: executable file, object file, source code, batch file, markup, word processor, library, and no whatnot. All these are types of file. But the major types of file are ultimately what? Sequential file, index sequential file, and direct access file. Okay, the major types of file, that is ultimately what? Sequential, then index sequential, and direct access file. So these are actually become access mode. So we are considering these types into what? File access method. Okay, but you need to understand these are the types of file, that is sequential, which will access sequentially. Index sequential, the meaning of index sequential is your you can use index and then you can sequentially access that particular file. So that's the beauty. And direct access means what? We can directly access that file. So that is ultimately what? Direct access file. So we can see that types by using access method. There are basically two major access method: sequential access method, where we'll go sequence by sequence like your linked list, and another one is what? Direct access, like your array, where you can directly jump on any of the position or any of the record. So sequential file access says that we can access each information of file on a particular sequence, maybe record by record, that you can access. Means you will access first record, then second, then third. Though you want to access seventh record, but you need to go sequentially, because you need to move your pointer from first record to seventh record, and then you can simply read the information available on seventh record. So sequential access is logically very easy for implementation, but it is having one of the biggest drawback, that this particular scheme will be one of the slower. Nowadays, at many places, direct access is used. Direct access means what? Wherever exactly the data is located, we can directly access that file. For example, we may use hash function or hashing technique, by which we can able to access this file. Again, this both the things you have implemented in data structure, that is sequential file as well as what? Direct access file. In direct access file, you may use hashing technique with linear probing. That's the beauty of what? Direct access. So sequential access, it says it is one of the simplest access method that I have already told you. Okay, mode of access is most common, so it will go sequence by sequence. For example, your compiler, okay, goes what? Line by line, so it goes sequentially. Even magnetic tape, you might have heard the cassette, okay, old cassettes. Okay, it goes one by one, you can able to play the songs one by one, then go ahead, then go back. All kinds of operations are possible, but it's in one particular sequence. Mind it, magnetic tape is more reliable than your hard disk because it has larger scope storing information. So normally it is known as stable storage. So dear friends, those who are based on sequential access, the reliability is more because there is no direct access, and that's the beauty where the reliability is more than what direct access. But the major drawback of sequential access is what it is very slower. Even you have seen editor, we are typing program one by one. That's the logic of it. That is sequential access. If you see the simulation of sequential access, suppose this is what you are writing here and your pointer is here. So what will happen with this pointer? Okay, your beginning will be here, your current position is here, means your pointer is here. Okay, so you can either move on this particular direction, that is read or write. You can perform read or write operation on this direction, or you can simply rewind, or you can simply go back. So dear friends, there is sequential access either on right side or on left side, but you cannot directly jump from this location to this location because this is not direct access. It is what sequential access that you need to understand. So what are the operations which are possible? Read is possible with what read next. So you can either read next. There is no read back option. There is only rewind, means you can simply move ahead. You cannot read the data, you cannot write the data. Read and write is only possible with what read next and write next, means आप आगे आगे जाके रिकॉर्ड्स को क्या कर सकते हैं, रीड कर सकते हैं, या आने वाले रिकॉर्ड्स को क्या कर सकते हैं, राइट कर सकते हैं आप लोग। ये ऑपरेशन बैक साइड में सिर्फ जाने के लिए रिवाइंड का यहाँ पे इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। रिवाइंड इज ओनली to position your file pointer to backside. Okay, it will not read the data, it will not write the data. For read and write, there is only one operation, that is read next or write next. Advantage, as I have already told you, that it is simplest method, read write record one by one, not access any record directly. So it goes sequentially, so it is one of the slowest. That is the biggest drawback of this sequential access method. Many times in university they're asking you what are the various file access methods or various types of files. You need to explain here sequential access as well as what direct access. So let's look at direct access. Direct access, as the name suggests, you can implement this by using, by using any side of any use of what array, where you can directly jump to a particular record. Direct access is also called as relative access or random access. Both the names are same, random access or direct access. Why the name random access? Because randomly you can access any sort of a record by using this direct access. Hence the name are similar. A file is made up of fixed length logical records that allow programs to read or write records rapidly in no particular order. There is no specific order because it is not sequential. That's the reason it is known as what direct access. The direct access method is also based on disk model of file system, since disks allow random access to any file block. Nowadays in hard disk, whatever data we are accessing, it is always a random access, it is always a direct access. So whatever, if you are implementing nowadays, whatever data we are reading from hard disk, it is based on what direct access. So it is currently in use in our operating system, so that you need to understand. Now looking towards what, there are no restrictions in order. You can either read in any direction, write in any direction. The way in case of sequential access, only read next and write next were allowed. Okay, but in case of direct access file, there is no restriction. You can read anywhere, you can write anywhere, randomly you can jump to any of the record and you can perform read or write operation. For example, you can think about the magnetic disk, means your hard disk is the best example of direct access. These are the operations which are possible with what direct access. Okay, it is by mistake, the name is what copied. Okay, you can see that access methods here, this is direct access, and here it is what the sequential access. Now you can see that read n means what, read a block number n. Write n means write a block number n. For example, if you say that read 10, it will read the data which is available on block number 10. Write n means it will write data on that particular block number 10. position to n means what? You can jump towards what? That particular block. So that is the use of position. So we have seen these operations like read next, write next, and then what? Rewind. Rewind and position is one and the same thing. In case of sequential access, reset is what? One of the operation where your file pointer will made to what it is positioned at start, and that's the reason it is initialized to 0. Okay, that is reset. Here it is reset. Here in direct access you can make it as 0. Read next, here it is ultimately read the value of CP, and then you can just increment the pointer by 1. Write next is again same like this. So in direct access, sequential access can also be possible. You can even use direct access as a sequential access, but reverse is not possible. So we can say that direct access is more advantageous than the sequential access, and that's the reason it is heavily used in this particular industry even nowadays. Next point is directory structure. If somebody has any doubt, you can please raise your doubt. यहां तक सब लोगों को समझ में आया है? क्या मैं फास्ट जा रहा हूं? समझ में आ रहा है आप लोगों को?
Yes sir.
Yes sir.
Okay, no doubt?
No sir.
Okay, fine, thank you. Yeah, now directory structure. Directories are used to organize files. Okay, we can organize our files by using directory structure. It is collection of what? Various files. We all are aware about what directory structures, we all are using Windows operating system or Linux operating system. We are creating directories, and inside directories we are actually what? Storing files, various files, and that's the reason directory is simply a collection of files. Directory may contain subdirectories also. We can create directories under what? Directories. That is again what we have seen. There are various ways of what directory structures. Okay, so very first one is what? Single level, then 2 level, then 3 structured directory, that is 3 level, and there can be what? A cyclic graph directory. So dear friends, these are the 4 types, that is single, double, 3 level, and a cyclic graph directory structure. So let's look at one by one. Single level means what? We can able to create a directory, and inside that we can able to store a file. So we cannot create directory under directory in this single level directory. Okay, that is the issue. So directory will be only one. Under that we can store the multiple files. That's not a problem. We can store multiple files. That's not a problem. Okay, but we cannot create directory under what? Directory. Subdirectories are what? Directories under directory. I hope my voice is audible to all. Am I audible?
Yes sir.
Yes sir.
Yes sir.
Okay, thank you. So single level directory means what? We cannot create directory under directory. There will be a single directory under which we can store multiple files. So the simplest level of directory structure, because only top root means every every directory will be at same level. Then we can see this particular part here, that folder, and there will be what? Directly what? There will be files. So all files contained in same directory, which is easy to support and understand. Now the advantage, it is a single directory, so its implementation will be very easy. Disadvantage, this cannot group the same type of files together. So as we all are aware that directory under a directory will give us what? Various ways. For example, I'm talking about engineering. Suppose engineering is one of the directory, and if we store data of all the students, okay, maybe computers, civil, mechanical, electronics, all kinds of data will be stored, then searching will be difficult. So what we want? Directory under directory. So under engineering we can create computer engineering, then civil engineering, these kind of directories, and under which we can store data of computer engineers, civil engineers, likewise. So directory under directory is important, and that's the reason we can see here 2-level directory. 2-level means what? We can create main directory, and under that there will be one subdirectory. So what will happen, here we can use one of the directory, top level directory as engineering. Okay, under which We can have subdirectories like computer engineering or IT or maybe civil. Likewise, we can create subdirectories. So these are what subdirectories under this main directory. Okay, so one level can be possible. So we can create one subdirectory under one main directory, but we cannot even go with what sub means. At third level it is not possible because its name indicates that it is ultimately two level directory. But again, if we want to separate out from computer, if we have to separate out like software and hardware and networking, in that case the third level is not possible because its name indicates that it is two level directory structure. So two levels at max, it is what it is possible. Okay, the way we are observing here. Okay, so that is possible. But the beauty of this is what, suppose the students which are at computer engineering cannot see the data at IT, cannot see the data at civil. That indicates that you can somewhere use some kind of protection. That's the beauty. Now advantage, different users can have the same directory as well as what file name. Searching of file becomes very easy due to path name and user grouping. So if you want to search data of all computer engineers, simply enter into engineering, then computer engineering, and you will get entire data. Whereas again, users are not allowed to share files with what other users. So you cannot, this is one of the drawback, though it is one of the protection thing, but it is one of the drawback. Nowadays, we are sharing data from one directory to another directory. That is not possible in case of your two level directories. Now the next part is tree structured directory. Tree structured directory means what? There will be multiple nodes inside. Okay, so the tree is most common directory structure. We all are aware about this, right? You have seen this tree structure in case of even Windows Explorer. Windows Explorer is ultimately what, one of the tree structure which is given. So data, you may get that plus sign, and the way it is moving towards what they are expanding that entire data. So the tree has one root directory, so it may start with C:, D:, or any of the drive. Okay, and every file is accessed with what unique path name, means we are using drive, then name of directory, then name of what file. This way we can able to access any of the file by using its path name, unique path name. Every directory or subdirectory contains either set of files or subdirectories. So every directory can, means there is no restriction here कि आपको एक directory के अंदर ही एक directory बनाना है, ऐसा कोई restriction नहीं है. आप multiple nested directories यहाँ पर बना सकते हैं, यानी directory के अंदर subdirectory, subdirectory के अंदर subdirectory. ऐसा कोई level यहाँ पर define नहीं है. आप कितने भी levels यहाँ पर क्या कर सकते हैं, create कर सकते हैं. So ultimately directory may contain files or subdirectories. And this is what the structure that you can see here. There is no restriction. You can take any directory under any number of directories. So this level, there is no restriction of what level. And this is the most prominent structure accepted heavily into what market, and still Windows, Microsoft is also using it heavily. So that you need to understand. Now the tree structure also has its own advantage and disadvantages. It is very, very general that we have seen in even Windows and any kind of operating system. Very scalable. The probability of name collision is very, very less, because though you have to give the same name of file, but you can store it into what different directory or different folder, then you can even use the same name. So the collision of naming will be what, very less. Searching becomes very easy because there will be multiple path, there will be absolute path or relative path. So searching will be what, very, very easy. What is the disadvantage? You can see here, every file does not fit into hierarchical model. Files may be saved into what, multiple directories. Same file can be saved into what, multiple directories. तो वहां पे आपको problem आएगी, and we cannot share the files. That is again the biggest drawback of what, sharing in case of tree structure. And that's the reason nowadays a cyclic graph directory is used. A cyclic graph means what? It is a graph which won't have any sort of cycle. जहां पे cycle नहीं होगी, ऐसा ग्राफ. अभी आप यहाँ पर यदि देखोगे तो ये यहाँ पर आया है, ये यहाँ पर आया है, लेकिन ये वाला इधर नहीं जा रहा है, ये भी इधर ही आ रहा है. This is also known as what, a cyclic graph. But what is the beauty of this? ये वाला एक कॉमन फाइल है जो ये दोनों डायरेक्टरी के लिए क्या हो गया, कॉमन. यानी यहाँ से हम लोगों ने शेयरिंग किया है, So sharing is possible in case of what this kind of directory structure. So dear friends, we have seen 4 types of directory structure. One, single, where only one directory creation is possible. Two, level, where 2 kinds of directory creation is possible. Then we have seen tree structure. No level, you can go with any level, but only drawback were what? Sharing of file. And that drawback is removed in case of your acyclic graph. So acyclic graph is actually it's like tree structure, but having cycle where you want to share what. So it has one of the option like sharing of file. But always remember, it is acyclic, means there will not be any sort of cycle here. So that you need to understand, and that's the beauty of acyclic graph directory. And these kind of things are used in the market till date. So you can see all the things that I have already told you. Its advantage, we can share the files. Yes, it is possible, because we have seen that particular path. Okay, searching is again easy. We share the files via linking. In case of deleting, it may create what? The problem. What is the problem of sharing? Suppose this file is deleted, suppose this count has deleted this file, so this will also go out from this particular count, so this will not be available. So sharing can be what? Dangerous here. So every method has its own advantages and disadvantages that we have seen, and that's we need to study always. Now the next part is protection. Protection means what? We need to protect our file so that people won't able to write on it. People, if we want that, we don't want to give any sort of access, that can be even taken care into what? Protection. Ultimately, the content of file should be what? Untouched, and file should not be removed by anyone. So protection means what? It is saying that information is stored in computer system, we want to keep it safe from physical damage, the issue of reliability, and improper access, the issue of protection. आज की डेट में आप लोगों को ये बहुत मायने नहीं रखता है, क्योंकि बहुत स्टेबल स्टोरेज ड्राइव आ रहे हैं. हम लोगों ने एक्चुअली फ्लॉपी डिस्क यूज किया हुआ है. तो फ्लॉपी डिस्क ऐसा था कि डेटा स्टोर करने के बाद डेटा एक कंप्यूटर से निकाल के दूसरे कंप्यूटर में फ्लॉपी डिस्क लगाते थे तो वो डैमेज हो जाती थी. तो फिजिकल डैमेज काफी होता था, तो वो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम तब के जमाने में था. सो अब आज की डेट में ये मेजर इश्यूज नहीं है. फिर भी आप लोगों का जिन जिन लोगों के हार्ड डिस्क में ये प्रॉब्लम आती है कि बैड सेक्टर्स आए हैं, वहां का डेटा देखिए काम नहीं आता है. सो दैट इज अल्टीमेटली व्हाट? फिजिकल डैमेज. सो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम इज एक्चुअली टेकिंग केयर ऑफ दिस प्रोटेक्शन. आप लोगों ने CH के DS के कमांड देखा होगा. हम लोग डिस्क को चेक करते हैं और जो भी बैड सेक्टर्स है उसको निकालने की कोशिश करते हैं या उसको पैचअप कर देते हैं, सो दैट वहां पे कभी इंफॉर्मेशन जाके स्टोर नहीं की जाएगी. सो दैट इज व्हाट the biggest concern when we are talking about what? The protection. So protection approaches are basically two: prohibiting access and free access, that is no protection. Prohibiting access means what? आप either read ही ऑपरेशन वहां पर दोगे, यानी कोई उसमें राइट नहीं कर पाएगा, या फिर राइट दोगे एग्जीक्यूट नहीं करने दोगे. So these are the operations that can be possible, that is normally known as prohibiting. एंड फ्री एक्सेस यानी क्या? पूरा फाइल को जो आपको करना है करो, देयर इज नो प्रोटेक्शन. लेकिन किस तरीके से उसको ये किया जाएगा? सो वी नीड टू व्हाट? वी नीड टू फोकस ऑन कंट्रोल्ड एक्सेस. ओके, सो कंट्रोल्ड एक्सेस यानी क्या? सो लेट्स फोकस ऑन प्रोटेक्शन मैकेनिज्म. Protection mechanism is actually providing you what? Controlled access by limiting the types of file access that can be made. Okay, so access is permitted or denied depending on what? Several factors. यानी आप लोगों को लगा कि सेम ग्रुप के स्टूडेंट्स हैं. ओके, आप कई बार देखिए आपका सेमिनार ग्रुप बनता है. सेमिनार ग्रुप बनेगा तो आप 3-4 लोग हैं और आपके साथ में आपके गाइड होंगे, तो उनको आप लोगों ने राइट के ऑपरेशंस दिए होंगे. लेकिन बाकी जो मेंबर्स है, जैसे आपके सेमिनार कोऑर्डिनेटर है, आपको लगता है वो फाइल उनके साथ में शेयर करना है, लेकिन उन्होंने उसमें मॉडिफिकेशन नहीं करना चाहिए. सो हम लोग क्या करते हैं? उसको रीड ओनली एक्सेस करके, यानी विविंग के राइट्स उनको देते हैं, अपडेशन के राइट्स, एडिट के राइट्स नहीं देते हैं, तो विविंग के राइट्स उन लोगों को दे देते हैं. दैट इज अल्टीमेटली नोन एज व्हाट? एक्सेस मेथड. ओके, सो ये एक्सेस राइट कौन से है? रीड, राइट एंड एग्जीक्यूट. ये तीन ही टाइप्स के यहाँ पर एक्सेस राइट्स होते हैं, जो आप लोगों को समझना जरूरी है. Several different types of operations that may be controlled will be what? Read. Okay, that is read from the file. Then execute, and append, that is ultimately what? Write information into what? File. So this I have already told you: read, write and execute. Append is ultimately write, because we are always writing at the end of file. even there are some certain different operations like delete. We can even not give access to delete so that people can't able to delete your files. So that is also possible. Provision is there. Okay. Then the list, that is ultimately what the list, the name and attributes of what file. So these are the issues. Now you must be aware that you are actually what आपका जो विंडोज का ये होता है, फाइल होता है, आप क्या करते हैं, कुछ तो फाइल प्रोटेक्शन का एक हाथ सॉफ्टवेयर डाउनलोड करते हैं जो फोल्डर को क्या कर देगा, प्रोटेक्ट कर देगा। यानी उस फोल्डर को आप लोगों ने क्या किया रहेगा, एक पासवर्ड डाला रहेगा। जब भी कोई उसको ओपन करेगा तब जाके उस फोल्डर का जब तक किसी के पास पासवर्ड, so known as what, protection mechanism. But you can always use third-party software for more protection, and operating system is supporting that. Now the last topic of today's session is file system implementation. We can, we all are aware that file is collection of information, and so file is collection of related information, and the file system resides on secondary storage and provides efficient and convenient access to disk, allowing data to be stored, located, and retrieved. So we must know while implementation what is file and what are the operations that we need to implement. Dear friends, I'm happy to inform you that you all have implemented file in case of data structure. You have already file, you have sorted the file, you have searched the information in a file. So that's the part that you have already implemented while your DSF, that is data structure practical. You need to understand here there is what application program which will access application program यानी जो program आप लोगों ने लिखा था C++ में या Python में, वो लॉजिकल फाइल सिस्टम को क्या करेगा, एक्सेस करेगा। फाइल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन मॉडल क्या करेगा, बेसिक फाइल सिस्टम को क्या करेगा, टच करेगा। आईओ कंट्रोल के थ्रू, यानी क्या, आप लोग आईओ जो भी कंट्रोलर्स है उसके थ्रू, the layered system that you need to understand. So this is what the basic file system where we can use appropriate command for device driver. अब सभी लोगों को फाइल राइट वगैरह ऐसे या एफ राइट ऐसे ऑपरेशंस यूज करने पड़े थे. दैट इज अल्टीमेटली व्हाट द सिस्टम कॉल्स और the standard directory functions that we have already used to control this. So the next part will be taken into what the next lecture. If you have any doubt, please raise your hand or please write your doubt on chat window, or even you can unmute yourself and you can ask the doubt if you have. If you have doubt, please raise. I have given what the link on chat window. Okay, while starting of the lecture, those who have joined late can mark your attendance. Yes. Any doubt? Fine. Thank you.